The concept of Jewish supremacy might make you uncomfortable, but that does not make it any less of a material reality under which millions of Palestinians live. The concept of white supremacy might make you uncomfortable, but that does not make it any less of a material factor in the operations of this political, ideological, and economic world system. These two things can exist and can be placed in their correct contexts. The existence of the latter does not erase the existence of the former. Zionism is Jewish supremacist. Zionism is the ideological base predicated primarily on the establishment, existence, and continuation of a settler colonial nation state by and for Jewish people in Palestine. To hell with everyone else, because their existence and interests are considered subordinate to the Jewish people advancing this project. It actually doesn't matter if fringe groups misapply or misunderstand the concept of Jewish supremacy. The term succinctly describes the reality on the ground, the settlement, displacement, and violence of it all. It describes which group has been invested with legal, political, economic, and military supremacy. The term parallels white supremacy because the outcomes parallel white supremacy. It doesn't matter if the majority of Jewish people do or do not consciously consider themselves Zionist and Jewish supremacist. When we're talking about supremacy holistically, we need to talk about it structurally, not purely ideologically. A system where one group is institutionally privileged over another is supremacist whether the individuals that compose it consciously believe genocidal ideas or not. White supremacy is structural. We don't boil it all down to individual intent and self-identification. Political and material support for the State of Israel is what matters. The reality is the vast majority of Jewish organizations worldwide continue to lobby for, facilitate settlement to, propagandize for, and materially support in other ways the State of Israel. Regardless of individual identification with the labels, support for Israel, Zionism, and Jewish supremacy are interlinked. The reality is that principled anti-Zionism is a minority position among Jewish people polled worldwide. I've noticed that Christian Zionists might be a more socially acceptable target of critique, and they do deserve attention, but criticizing them alone does not place responsibility proportionally for the active monetary support and physical participation of millions of Jewish Zionists in the settler colonial project and genocide. Criticize the Christian Zionists, as you should, but don't use them as an excuse to avoid criticizing Jewish Zionists as well. It also doesn't matter if there's intra-group conflict among Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Mizrahi, Ethiopian, Indian, whatever. It doesn't matter if there's conflict between Orthodox and secular, liberal and conservative within Israel. None of that changes the legally enshrined supremacy of all Jewish people over all others in that state and its occupied territories in all of historic Palestine, as well as Syria and Lebanon. America is enabling all of this as Israel's partner and principal supporter. That does not mean that you strip agency from all other participants to focus on America's doing. That's just inverted American exceptionalism. You need to recognize the powers at play holistically, not selectively. Let go of this false dichotomy between Jewish supremacy and white supremacy. In reality, systems of power can overlap. It's all intertwined. A settler colonial project can operate within global capitalism and its white supremacist underpinnings while still producing its own ethnocratic hierarchy. You can't really even accurately describe Jewish or white supremacy without addressing capitalism, statism, imperialism, and the multitude of factors that shape this world we live in. Perhaps this world can never fully be known and never fully be understood, sure, but that doesn't mean shedding every lens of analysis just because it's incomplete. And no, although I recognize the irony in this instance, you don't have to bring up anti-Semitism every time you're addressing Jewish supremacy, Zionism, and the State of Israel. How bad actors decide to run with such a term for their reactionary and conspiratorial ends should not occupy the forefront of your attention. I oppose all prejudices, including anti-Semitism. So don't bring that prejudicial garbage to my comment section. Describing Jewish supremacy does not mean treating Jewish people as a monolith and painting them all with one broad brush. We can acknowledge that a lot of Jewish organizations support Israel while not acting like every single Jewish person is equally culpable in the Jewish supremacist project of Israel. The historic oppression is very real, but it is not an eternal oppression in all cases and all contexts until the end of time. History is littered with examples of groups which were at some moments ascendant and in other moments subordinate. You need to think critically about what provides relevant explanatory power and what reflects current economic and political power dynamics. Furthermore, historic oppression, and even contemporary oppression, doesn't absolve the present perpetuation of harm. We don't give the Boers in South Africa a pass for apartheid just because they felt marginalized by the British. Culpability for the Americo-Liberian oppression of indigenous Africans in their settler colonial project was not absolved by the history of enslavement in the United States. Obviously, these examples are in some ways incomparable, but the point stands that you don't get a hurt people pass out of agency and out of an analysis of the relevant contemporary dynamics. I think that's all that I wanted to say on this matter. I saw a certain video from a certain creator that just rubbed me the wrong way, and I held my tongue for some time, but I felt like I need to get this off my chest. My position on Palestine has been implied or outright stated on a few occasions over the course of my main channel's existence, as early as 2020 or 2021, I think. My channel doesn't typically focus on current events, as I don't believe that is my strength or purpose. I prefer my eclectic avenue of education, but I appreciate the work of those who have made speaking on this specific issue central. I keep most of my opinions to myself, believe it or not, or to my network of people I trust and exist in actual community with. I try to stay offline, believe it or not, and I'm not a believer in any online left or left unity or breadtube or the discourse or any imagined community of that nature. I don't consider myself a leftist, and I really would prefer to be treated separately from all that, but I know that's out of my hands because people project things regardless. I don't believe in talking for talking's sake. I mostly just observe. I prefer to make videos on things that I believe I have something different to say, or when I want to synthesize the ideas and thoughts swirling around in a particular topic I've been learning about, or if there's something that's been weighing on my heart to say. Even on this second channel, I'm not trying to make quote-unquote slop. That being said, I hope people get the spirit of this, and if not, so the badness go.